In the court of Queen Elizabeth I, every word was a weapon, and every letter a cipher. Obsessed with secrecy, Elizabeth and her spy master Sir Francis Walsingham developed an elaborate network of coded messages, invisible inks made from lemon juice, symbols hidden in embroidery, and letters disguised as harmless poetry. In a world where betrayal could come from any corner, even her own ladies-in-waiting carried concealed instructions, written in miniature scripts that only the most trusted could read. The fate of England often rested not on the battlefield, but in the delicate unfolding of a hidden note. Among the glittering jewels of the crown lies a sapphire with a history soaked in misfortune. Legend whispers that it once belonged to a deposed Eastern ruler who cursed it as it was taken from his palace. Since then, it has passed through the hands of monarchs who met untimely ends, sudden illness, betrayal, even violent death. Though kept under heavy guard in the Tower of London, the gem is never worn directly against the skin. Some say it hums faintly when danger approaches, as though warning the crown-bearer of the fate that awaits. In 1606, King James I hosted a midnight banquet for foreign envoys in a hall lit only by flickering torches and the silver gleam of moonlight. The feast was meant to impress, but guests whispered it felt more like an omen. Each course arrived with strange theatrics, a roasted boar's head carried by masked servants, goblets filled with wine so dark it seemed black, and musicians playing music in minor keys that made the air feel heavy. Some envoys later claimed the king was sending a veiled warning that England's power could be as intoxicating as it was dangerous. For centuries, guards of the Tower of London have sworn they've seen the same figure, a pale young woman in a Tudor gown drifting silently across the courtyard before vanishing into the bloody tower. Historians suspect she might be the spirit of Lady Jane Grey, the 9 Days Queen, executed at just 16. Witnesses say she seems unaware of the living, her gaze fixed on some unseen horizon, as if walking forever towards a destiny she cannot escape. In the glittering courts of the 17th century, every meal served to the king was both a feast and a risk. Poison was the silent assassin of choice, and so the role of the royal poison tester was a deadly profession. These men, often high-ranking servants, would taste each dish and sip each drink before it reached the monarch's lips. Some survived for decades. Others met their end mid-banquet, collapsing before the horrified eyes of the court. The position was considered both an honor and a slow death sentence. King George III, plagued by illness and strange fits of madness, became increasingly withdrawn from public life. In his later years, he insisted on shuttering the palace windows, claiming the sun's light burned his skin and clouded his thoughts. Servants were ordered to drape every corridor in heavy velvet, turning the royal halls into a labyrinth of shadow. Some say it was not illness but paranoia, a fear that light itself revealed too much, even to the king's own eyes. In 1327, young Edward III inherited the throne after his father's forced abdication, a transfer of power stained with violence. At his coronation, witnesses claimed to see a faint dark blot on the velvet of his ceremonial robe, said to be the blood of a murdered supporter stitched into the fabric. Though never confirmed, the story persisted for generations, a whispered reminder that the crown could rest on the head of a child, but always sat heavy with the weight of the dead. Deep within the grounds of Hampton Court lies a walled garden said to be planted under the orders of Henry VIII, but not for beauty. The plants grown there were poisonous, their roots and leaves used for both medicine and deadly tinctures. Only the king's personal apothecary had keys to its iron gate, and servants told tales of shadowy figures entering at night to gather herbs for purposes best left unspoken. Queen Victoria, in the years after Prince Albert's death, was consumed by grief. She avoided public life, but behind closed doors, she was rumored to speak daily to a tall gilded mirror in her private chamber. Servants claimed she would stand for hours, whispering to it as though expecting a reply. Some believed she thought Albert's spirit lingered within the reflection. Others feared it was a sign her sorrow had crossed into madness. For centuries, the British monarchy has held a tradition that certain letters, journals, and artifacts are locked away for 100 years before they can be seen by the public. Known as the Seal of Silence, these archives are guarded in a vault so deep beneath Windsor Castle that only a handful of archivists know its exact location. What secrets lie within? Letters from abdicated kings, treaties that never saw daylight, perhaps even confessions from monarchs themselves. The truth, for now, remains buried.